Hi friends! Thanks for joining me as I make my medieval Bliaut dress. I drafted this pattern myself based on my measurements, and for those who caught my last video about making the chemise dress, this dress is actually very similar. Basically, you want the large rectangles that form the body to be from your shoulders to your ankles, and the sleeves to be from your shoulders to your wrists, and the godets to be from your natural waist to your ankles. For the neck hole, you're actually just going to cut a slit right down the middle of the two main body pieces. Just go as far down as you need to in order to fit your head through the hole. As you've seen by now, I started by sewing the godets to the main rectangles that were for the body, and then sewing both of those pieces together. And now that we're starting to look like a real dress, it's time for the sleeves. I actually broke the sleeves into two parts. I made the first half from the shoulders to the elbow, and then the second half from the elbow to the wrist, and then dropped it down to make a triangle. The width of the fabric should be wide enough to go around your arm plus seam allowance. I actually made my sleeves too big, as you can see here. So we're gonna fix that. We're gonna take it in a bit. I measured how much extra space I had and then worked it onto my fabric and sewed it on the new line. And you can see it now fits a lot better. Next up, we're going to hem the bottom of the dress. I did a double fold, a 1/4 inch each time, and then sewed it up. For the collar, I measured how long the slit was, and I decided to make mine about 2 to 3 inches wide. I didn't really care. So I think I cut about a 4-inch wide square, and I made, or rectangle, and I made 2 of those, one for each side of the collar. I ironed down the sides about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch on each side to make it easier to sew down and to protect the raw edges. And I pinned them to the collar, and then I hand sewed the pieces along using an invisible stitch. I should point out that before I put the trim on, I did do a whip stitch around the collar to help keep the fabric from disintegrating. Okay, for the belt, I did 4-inch wide strips, and my fabric wasn't long enough, so I had to do 2 strips and then sew them together to make it long enough to wrap around my body 3 times and then tie into a knot. You fold the strips in half and then sew them together so it makes them a 2-inch wide belt. Then you sew the 2 different pieces together, the 2 halves, and then turn the whole thing inside, or from the inside out to right side out. And voila! At this point, I realized that my shift or chemise dress was too long. So I had to go fix that, and I cut off the bottom few inches, re-hemmed it, and now it works just great. The veil is just a giant rectangle, some scrap fabric I had, and I hand sewed the entire edge using a rolling hem. The headband is actually very similar to the belt. It was 4-inch wide pieces, about 17 inches long, 2 halves that you sew together to make them long enough together to fit around the head. The sleeve trim is a lot like the neckline pieces. So I folded them over, ironed them, and then hand sewed them into place. I wanted to make a coif, and I had so much trouble with this, you guys, and I'm sure it's a lot simpler than I was making it out to be. Here's some research that I was doing to make my own pattern, and I attempted to do it, and I just got really confused. So then I tried this guy's method. I was like, all right, this is gonna work. This is just how my brain can function. I was using scrap fabric, and I didn't quite have enough to make it as big as I actually wanted it to be, so it turned out a little small. But it's okay. It fulfilled the need. I did a rolling hem by hand for this piece, and this fabric's actually quite delicate. And I tried it on a few times, adjusted it, because the fit was sometimes a little wonky, and like on the very top, I just didn't like the way it fit, so I re-sewed it a few times until I was happy with the way it shaped around the curve of my head. To make the ties, you want the length I'm pointing out times 3. I took the scrap fabric from the bottom of my chemise that I ended up cutting off because I'd made it too long and used that to make the ties. I folded it both sides inward and then folded that in half in order to save the edges. There weren't any raw edges showing, which makes it about a 1/4 inch wide at the end. And then I hand sewed it down. It should look like this when you're done. Next up, we have to attach the ties to the cap. Funny enough, I kept doing this wrong. It should be so simple, but I eventually got it right. And here's me trying it on to make sure that I actually did the measurements right for how long I wanted the tie, make sure it can wrap around my head, and then still have room to make knots. And this is the finished coif. Woohoo, that was the last step. And here's how it turned out with my full costume at the Renaissance Fair. It was a lot of fun. Well, thanks for watching my video with me, you guys. And it's quite the journey to sew a dress from scratch and doing the pattern and everything. And I've definitely learned a lot doing this dress, and I made a lot of mistakes. As you can see, I had to adjust some things. And I'm not entirely happy with how the dress turned out, but I did have a lot of fun wearing it. It's actually gonna be my Halloween costume this year as well. And you know, you learn a lot, and that's the whole point. In each costume you get better. So try not to be discouraged, especially if this is a more beginner project for you like it is for me. You know, progress is gonna happen. The more you sew, the better you get. And someday we're gonna look back on this dress and think, wow, I mean, look how far we've come. I could go back and make more adjustments to this dress. I could make it more fitted if I wanted to, because I don't actually like the feeling that I'm wearing a sack. But I don't think I will. I think I'll just leave this dress as it is and make a new one, because I don't like how high up I made the godets, and that's something that I can't really fix as easily as just the general fit. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna do this dress again and hopefully actually have learned my lesson. But it was a good first attempt, happy with it in that way. And eventually when I do it the second time, I think I'll go ahead and try a fitted version. And whew, well, that'll be another adventure of more mistakes to make. So I'll let you know if I end up doing that someday down the road. Thank you so much for joining me as we make this dress and grow. And hopefully I'll see you soon.